going on, you guys? What is happening? I hope everyone's having a good week. Before we get started, let's just a reminder. This weekend, this Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Well, I'll probably be on live doing commentary earlier than that. But this weekend, we have Jamel Charlo against Brian Castaño for the undisputed junior middleweight title on Showtime. No pay-per-view. So be sure to check that fight out. That's this Saturday. And I will be here doing live commentary on the channel. Okay. If you are new, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell notification button so you'll be alerted whenever I drop new content. And smash that like button as well to support the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. I'm going to talk about the press conference. I'm going to talk about do a little bit of a breakdown. But yeah, we're going to discuss all Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence in this video. I haven't done like a full video just talking about this fight since it was announced. But normally I do my breakdowns. You guys know how I do with the breakdowns. This is not going to be the official breakdown. I'm not giving you a prediction yet because, I still want to have some more time to do film study and come up with an actual prediction on who is going to win. I haven't fully decided yet. But shout out to everyone that's coming in today. We're just going to chat about it for a little bit. Just an open discussion about the fight and how I see it up to this point. Just the other day, I believe yesterday, either was yesterday or the day before, we got the press conference, the official press conference between the two fighters over at Fox. All right. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. And Eric, what's up? What's good? This is just a random, I had some time to get on YouTube, so I didn't schedule this. I just wanted to jump on live. I'm sure more people will come in as the longer that we're here. All right. What's up, Noosh? What's going on? But yeah, we're going to talk about it today. All right. Let's start talking about the press conference. All right. I seen it. I watched it all this morning. All right. Before I just see only clips of it, but I watched the entire thing this morning. And, what did I get out of it? It wasn't really exciting because Manny Pacquiao is not much of a trash talker. I mean, sometimes he has his moments where he could be pretty funny. But they both had a lot of respect for each other. Errol Spence is not going to trash talk Manny Pacquiao. He's just not going to do it, And Manny Pacquiao didn't give him a reason to. And, Manny Pacquiao is a very respectful guy. So we didn't get much action as far as the back and forth. I'm sure you've heard the Mayweather comment that I guess, a lot of content creators made content on. I didn't watch anyone's video, but I did see the clip of Manny Pacquiao and his little his line when he said about Mayweather. They asked Errol Spence if Mayweather called him like he said he would to give him some pointers on Manny Pacquiao. And Spence replied by saying, no, he hasn't called yet, but I'm sure he'll call at some point. And Manny Pacquiao responded basically saying, he made a comment about Spence being a tougher opponent, or I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was more of a shot at Mayweather, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, Mayweather is another legend himself, and I don't see any issue with that because the way I see it, as far as Manny fighting Mayweather as opposed to Manny fighting Errol Spence is a more dangerous opponent for Manny Pacquiao at this point because Spence is, and I'm basing it not only on Manny Pacquiao's age, but I'm just basing it on the style of Errol Spence. He's kind of a guy that is willing to walk you down and try to knock you out. That's the kind of fighter he is. So in a sense, he is more dangerous than Floyd. but I don't think he has a better chance of winning than Floyd. You know, Floyd is a better boxer than Errol Spence. He has he's a more difficult fighter to beat on the cards. But Errol Spence is more dangerous in the sense that Manny is 42 years old and Spence is a pressure fighter that has power, and he's a big welterweight, you know? Manny's been in there with big, I mean, basically everybody he fought was bigger than him, but at welterweight. But yeah, yeah, in a sense, it is a more dangerous fight for Manny Pacquiao. But that's where it ends to me, you know? But it was cool. It was a nice little shot. Outside of that, though, shout out to everyone that's coming in, man. This is just a random, like I said earlier, this is just a random, like, yo, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the fight, break it down a little bit, and get some feedback from you guys as well. Leonard Thomas, what's up? Journeyman, Sergio, Ralph, Jonte, the God, Full of Hunger Boxing. What's up, everyone that is here? Make sure you guys tune in with me this Saturday for the live commentary for the Undisputed Fight. Yvonne, what's going on? My favorite fan. All right, so outside of that, though, I really I enjoy listening to Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. Sean has a podcast. It's becoming very, very successful. Much love and respect to him. Very classy guy. Same with Keith Thurman. They are great analysts. They are great fighters, but they are great analysts, and I look forward to them hopefully just being the main analyst on the PBC. You know, I like their work. They're they're former champions. They're very they speak well, they dress well, they are very articulate. They are experienced, obviously, and I would really look forward to seeing them doing what Andre Ward and Tim Bradley is doing over there at ESPN. I really like listening to them, especially with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman for years have given us great interviews on fights, on like Fight Hype and stuff like that. I think all of these fighters at some point, they have their ego. So, as you know, certain fighters, when certain fighters are going to be brought up, especially because they're both still active, their ego is going to come in a way at times. It happens with all of them. Their biases are going to step into place at times. But overall, I think that they give great commentary and they do a good job just breaking down the fighters and their styles and their experiences on fighting them. Like Pacquiao has sparred with Porter. Thurman has fought Manny Pacquiao. Spence has fought Sean Porter. You know what I'm saying? I see you guys with the Porter comments. Porter does dress funny. He has his own style. Not my preference, but he is a good dresser. It's just that he has his own way of fashion. Let me say that. All right. But yo, I like them as commentators, and and I think when a boxer is not, there's a lot of boxers that has tried to do commentary and they just weren't great at it. Maybe, they weren't great as an actual analyst, no matter how great of a fighter they were, maybe as an analyst, they weren't that great just speaking, because you got to be able to speak and you got to be real quick. And this is why they have fighters up there and they have actual analysts who are more, more educated. They probably got a degree in that kind of career. They probably studied a fight, like a Max Kellerman type of guy who isn't a boxer, but he's probably studied and all of these fighters, and he knows the statistics and pretty much what I do here, what a lot of us do here on YouTube that break down fights. Like, I'm not a fighter, but I study the fighters. I spend hours and just watching film, and a lot of fighters are not going to do that unless they're preparing for a fight. Outside of that, they usually just casually watch the sport. So I think that they are great analysts and they're great fighters. So I would love to look forward to them. If they retire, that should be their full-time job if they want to do it. Just like basketball players, they do the same thing on TNT and ESPN, they're all analysis. I think it's a good thing. All right, but outside of that, I didn't really get anything else out of the press conference. A lot of respect, mutual respect between the two, and that's it. That's it. Leonard says Roy Jones, love Roy Jones. The way he speaks on the commentary, yeah, I mean, sometimes Roy, what I think the funniest part about Roy is that Roy he has these words that he just made up. And it's funny sometimes, but you know what he's saying. You understand what he's saying totally. And he goes so much into detail on how it's really like to be in there. I think he's the best at doing it, because he really, really goes into detail about what it's like and what a fighter is thinking, mentally while you're in there. And I think Roy is at one of the best when it comes to that. I think Paulie Malignaggi, when he was doing commentary, I thought at the technical aspect of it, I think Paulie was the best, like in recent years at least. Paulie was very, very good at just telling you what was really actually happened from a technical standpoint. So I really enjoyed listening to him. I know everybody. I know he lost the job with Showtime with all of the stuff with Wilder. But if we're just talking about before all the drama started, he was very good at just analyzing the fight. All right. All of them have their strengths and stuff. But I do like Thurman. I do enjoy listening to him and Sean Porter. He has a great podcast and everything. And I look forward to hearing them when they retire as well. Yeah, I like Ward and Bradley too. And I like the fact that they both go at it at sometimes, that there's times where they really disagree with each other. And you can tell the energy based on what they're saying, So anyway, let's talk about Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. Let's talk about these guys. There's a lot of things that I want to discuss here that I'm going to discuss in my breakdown when I finally give you guys a prediction, but I want to go over a few things that I hear people, or just things that I wonder what would happen in this scenario when they fight. First of all, let me start out by saying this. If you're a hardcore fan of either one, if you're a hardcore Pacquiao fan, which Pacquiao probably has the biggest following, being on YouTube for years, Pacquiao fan base they're on a different level. They're the largest number as far as fans on here. After doing videos and years of doing Manny Pacquiao video, you get the most comments, you get the most views. Pacquiao brings a lot of people in. So if you're a hardcore fan of Pacquiao, and Spence has a hardcore fan base too, so don't sleep on him. If this is what I think, if you're a hardcore Pacquiao fan, don't discredit Spence. Okay, you might think Pacquiao was going to win, but don't discredit Spence as an opponent. He's a very, very, very capable opponent. Okay. So when I hear or when I read certain comments from you guys and you make it seem like Spence is just rock'em sock'em robot and he's just robotic and he's slow and this and that, you're taking a credit away from the win if Pacquiao wins. If Pacquiao wins this fight, you're going to brag that he's the greatest of all time for beating an Errol Spence that's 42. But if Pacquiao loses the fight, you're going to say that he was cheated, or some are going to say that Spence is only beating an older guy, older version of himself, or Pacquiao wasn't at his best, or you're going to say whatever. So be very mindful about what you're saying, and including you Spence fans. If you're a Spence fan, right, you want people to believe that Manny Pacquiao is a great challenger. Don't try to just downplay Manny Pacquiao because he's 42 years old. We saw what just happened to Keith Thurman. And we can see from these workout and these training videos that he's still very fast at 42. He's a freak of nature. And he does have certain qualities that Spence don't have, including experience. So if you're a Spence fan, you don't want to downplay Manny Pacquiao because if Spence wins this fight, this is his best fight. Pacquiao, to me, is still better than Danny Garcia in his prime today. And that's who Spence fought last, and that's Spence's one of his best wins. Pacquiao, to me, today is still better than Sean Porter. To me, I that's just the way I see it. He's still better than Sean Porter. I mean, obviously, they would have to fight for us to know, so we don't really know because they never fought. But I mean, at least with Pacquiao, I mean, even as a welterweight, I mean, he beat Thurman. Danny Garcia didn't beat Thurman. Sean Porter didn't beat Thurman. And Thurman might not be at his absolute best, because of his, inactivity and stuff like that. But Pacquiao at 40 did better against Thurman than Danny Garcia did and Sean Porter did. All right. But all right. So he is 42. He is 42. And not only is it's not really about the age, it's about the fact that he hasn't fought in 2 years. Now, I heard him in the interview say that I think he thinks it's good that he hasn't fought in 2 years. He thinks it's great. He feels more refreshed that he didn't fight in 2 years. So, I mean, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes certain fighters will be inactive and then come back looking great because they got the time off. That might be the case here. We got to wait and see what happens, but that may be the case in this fight. We don't know. We won't know until they actually fight. All right. But, being that he's the older guy, look at Donaire in his recent fight. Donaire, how long did Donaire go without fighting before fighting Ubali? And he destroyed Ubali. Let me look it up. It's been a minute. He went from taking a loss where he took a lot of punishment against Inoue. I mean, they both took punishment from each other, right? Okay, so he beat Ubali. So he went about a year and a half. So he went about 18 months. 18 months. And he's an older fighter. He's an older fighter. And he went about 18 months without fighting and came back and beat Ubali, And I'm not saying that Ubali is just super, super elite fighter. I think Errol Spence is clearly the better fighter if we're talking about, pound for pound or whatever. But yeah. I think what was I saying? Yeah, it might be the 2 years off might be better for him. We'll wait and see. We just gotta wait and see. So anyway, that's one thing. The southpaw thing. All right. Neither one of them have great experience at fighting southpaws professionally. Manny Pacquiao had a nice long run since he fought David Diaz. This is before he was even a welterweight. All right. It's been a long, long time since he fought David Diaz. Diaz was the only full southpaw fighter that he's fought over these years. So it's been a very, very long time. Will that affect Manny? I mean, he dominated David Diaz, and I don't think David Diaz is not Errol Spence. No disrespect. I know he got a win over Morales, which was very questionable win. But David Diaz was a solid fighter. All right, but I think Errol Spence is a more challenger fighter from Manny Pacquiao. All right, and I'm not just talking about because of the age thing. I'm talking about, I think stylistically, I think Errol Spence is a more challenger fighter than David Diaz. That is my opinion. That's the way I see it. Could it be a factor in this fight? It could be. We just got to wait and see. That's one of those unknown things that we just got to wait and see how it goes when they're both in the ring. Because Spence don't have many southpaws. I mean, Spence don't have as much experience as when it comes to experience, he doesn't have much compared to Manny Pacquiao. But overall, like, he doesn't have that many southpaws. He had a Leonard Bundle fight where Leonard kept switching throughout the fight, and he had a little success. He landed some good shots against Spence fighting out of the southpaw position. Some good counters. Definitely landing shots over Spence's jabs, and he did good. He landed some shots, but it wasn't enough. You had the Keith Van Herden, all right, who's not a world level fighter. He's not a world level fighter. Herndon was a southpaw as well. You know, that's a step-up fight at the time. It was a good fight to have, gain experience. You're moving your way on your way up. I know Ennis recently had a fight with Herndon, which was stopped because I think it was a headbutt or something. All right, a cut that stopped the fight. All right, and then you also had Larte. Now, the Larte fight was an interesting fight. It was a good fight where Errol was clearly definitely winning, but Larte did hurt Spence, and I think he hurt Spence more than we've ever seen Spence hurt. He actually was rocked hard, and he wobbled a little bit back and walk into his corner. If you haven't seen the fight, again, Spence was dominant in that fight. It's not like Larte almost won. Okay, but if you are looking to see Spence fight another southpaw, I would try looking at the Bundle fight and just looking at the points where Bundle was actually fighting in the southpaw position, and I will look at the Larte fight a little bit. Now, the thing is, the obvious thing is, these fighters are not Manny Pacquiao. All right, not even close. Okay, they don't have the styles, they don't have the experience, they don't have the explosiveness, they don't have any of that stuff. So these fighters here aren't really going to prepare Spence, you know, give him experience against a guy like Manny Pacquiao. Now, I don't know who he's sparring with to help him prepare for this fight. I have no idea. You know, they asked him about it. The two of them didn't really want to talk too much on what they're doing as far as preparing for each other. You know, they're not going to do that. That's not what they did in the press conference. Oh, I got my coffee. But if you just look at everything and look at who they fought as southpaws, there's not much there to prepare them, you know, as far as who they fought over the years. All right. So that's another thing that we would have to like really think about when going into this. Well, this is what I'm thinking of going into this breakdown. I'm considering, this is the two things so far. I'm considering the age and the inactivity of Manny Pacquiao, 2 years. All right. I'm thinking about the southpaw thing. Who will have the advantage there? All right. This is another thing. Before we even talk about the technical breakdown, these are things that I'm considering while making this breakdown. All right. So we're talking about the age and the inactivity, the youth of Errol Spence, and the fact that he's been more active. We're talking about the southpaw thing. And you know what? You also got to still consider the whole car accident thing. Now, I know that Errol Spence looked good against Danny Garcia. At least he did to me. All right. There's still a lot of people out there that still believe that Errol Spence is not the same fighter. You know, and I think a lot of people base that on just the way he talks in his interviews. There's definitely a little bit of a slur in his speech, or maybe not a slur, but maybe his jaw he doesn't sound the same whenever he gives an interview. People still believe that he's a little off since the accident. He took punches from Danny, some big shots from Danny. They traded in that fight at points. I think he's fine, man. And I think people are reading too much into it. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that his jaw was fractured. All right. Or, you know what I'm saying? I think the injuries might have altered his speech. I don't think he's less durable now because of the accident, you know? So I think he's fine. I think people are reading a little bit too much into that. Like, I think he's good. I think Danny's a big enough puncher to let us know, like, if Errol was really like his damage, if he was really that damaged, I think he would have definitely got at least rocked or hurt in that fight. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying before I continue. In my opinion, says he's back to 100% now. Leonard says his jaw wasn't fractured. It's just a big fake teeth in his mouth. Exactly. New says he's also from the country in the South. They sound like that. I think some of those, his teeth, full of hunger boxer says, I think some of that is those teeth. Yeah. and says the car accident did nothing to him. I wouldn't say it did nothing to him, but I mean, I think as far as him moving forward in his career as a boxer, I think he's fine. All right. Chillin says, even if everything goes good in camp, for both fights, we will never know until it happens. Yeah, absolutely. Leonard says, Southpaw stance cuts off the angle for Manny, like Donaire says. Yeah. In my opinion, says Manny needs to fight him similar to the way Porter did. Yeah, all right. Good point. All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about the Porter fight specifically. Porter rushed Spence, and he forced Spence to have to step back and move a lot more than what he's normally doing. Spence was forced to fight backwards a lot in that fight. All right. He was forced to try to catch Porter coming in and timing him. All right. He used his legs a lot more than we're ever used to seeing him doing. Normally, Spence is coming forward. He's the guy that's walking down. Porter was rushing him. Porter has very quick, light feet, and Porter was getting in and closing the gap. All right. Porter is not quick like Manny Pacquiao quick, but he's quick enough to where his speed could throw you off a bit, especially when he's being very, very aggressive. The difference between Porter and Manny, though, all right, and I'm not saying who's better right now. I'm not talking about who's better. I'm talking about the difference between the two. Manny has better power, all right? I think his punch selection is just a little better. I think Porter mauls you a little bit, and I think he smothers his own punches. And I think that's part of the reason why he doesn't have that much power, because he's usually in throwing short shots, and he's not really creating space for himself to make more of an impact on those punches. You know, Manny is a guy that's going to come in. He's going to slip a shot. He's going to throw a left to the body. He's going to throw a right up top. He's going to throw another left to the body. He's going to be throwing combinations, and he might land 3 or 4 punches at one time. You know, also, I think that what I will say about Errol Spence is that Errol is definitely flat-footed. All right. He's not really quick on his feet. But I do see improvement. I have seen improvement in the way that he uses his feet. Okay. I think he's a lot lighter on his feet than people give him credit for. I think when Danny was trying to close the gap, because Errol had that jab, he had that reach advantage over Danny Garcia. And there was times where Danny would try to, you know, who's very slow on his feet too, probably even slower than Errol Spence. Errol would step out quick and keep that lead hand out there and keep the distance between the two. All right. I think he's good at stepping in and stepping back quickly. Obviously, he's not as quick as Manny Pacquiao, but I think he's quicker and lighter than what people give him credit for. You know, people say that he's slow. I don't necessarily believe that he's slow like that. All right. I think we saw in some of his fights, you know, I know people don't like to give him credit for the Mikey Garcia fight. But we seen in that fight, we seen in the Danny Garcia fight, we seen in the Sean Porter fight that he can move, you know, when he's trying to keep that distance between him and his opponent. And that's what he's going to be trying to do here in this fight, at least in the first half of the fight. I think that's what he's going to try to do. All right. So that's going and speaking on that. Excuse me. How says hello, Bass. I'm looking forward for a great fight. I'm hoping that there won't be low blow shots thrown by Spence if things go wrong, and that the judges will be seeing the actual fight. Well, as far as being low blow, I mean, as far as a fight is concerned, I hope it's a clean fight, period. I hope there's no low blows or any foul play. I hope that there's no headbutts. Okay. I hope that everything is clean, you know, and I don't believe Spence is a dirty fighter. You know, I think he's a very rugged, aggressive fighter. I don't think he's a dirty fighter. I think he doesn't have the reputation that some other fighters may have, you know, like a Javier Fortuna who just fought the other day. He kind of had a reputation of like some foul play. Even Andre Ward, one of my favorite fighters, all right, he had a reputation for being somewhat dirty, you know, in some ways. So I think I think Spence doesn't really have the reputation, you know, of just going into a fight where I hope he doesn't, you know, cheat or throw low blows. He doesn't have a reputation for that. You know, I don't, at least I don't believe so. All right. So that's another thing. So the main thing here, and being that they're both southpaws, I think what I'm expecting from Manny is I'm expecting Manny to try to counter Spence's jab, because the jab is going to be Spence's best weapon. That is his best weapon. All right. On top of his body punching, his body shots, his liver shots are on point. All right. He's good at closing the distance and getting rugged on his side and bullying people. So I think Spence on the outside is all about his jab, pumping that jab. Manny is going to be the guy that's going to be using his angles. He's going to be slipping and countering with his own jab and with left hands over the top of Spence's jab. Okay. And he's also going to be leading with the right hook as well a lot more. Now, if you go and look at the David Diaz fight, you will see Pacquiao constantly leading with his right hand. Normally, when he's fighting these right-handed fighters, he is, you know, shooting, getting that close, zero in and targeting that straight left hand. All right. Now in this fight, he's going to be using that straight left hand, but he's going to be using with the combinations, or using it over and under Spence's jab in this fight, right? Over his lead hand, which is his right hand. All right. So I think we're going to see Manny Pacquiao using more of a right hook in this fight. Spence is still going to be using a jab. Whether he's fighting a lefty or righty, he's going to be, his jab is what he loves to use to control the fight. He's going to be using that jab. He's going to be pumping that jab all night long, nonstop. All right. This is the thing, though. The second half of the fight, and this is why I've still leaning towards Spence, is because I seen what happened when Manny fought Thurman. What's up? What's up, Captain Crochet? What's going on? We actually talked about this the other night. Thurman was able to pick up a good number of rounds in that second half of the fight. I think the second half of the fight, he won the second half of the fight because Manny slowed down. And what happened? What's good, D-Style? What's good, bro? What happened in the second half of that fight was Manny slowed down and Thurman started to connect more. Now, he wasn't hurting Manny, but he was scoring a lot more, so where he was winning rounds at that point. Now, there was a point, I believe it was the 10th round, when Manny shot landed a good shot against Thurman to the body and hurt Thurman, all right, and had Thurman running again like Louis Collazo did years back, all right, had Thurman running around. Thurman was hurt bad, and he was just like, oh, you know how Thurman gets hurt to the body and he runs, and that's why I always had Spence beating Thurman, because Thurman is kind of weak to the body. Spence is better at walking opponents down and bullying them. That's what Thurman was doing. Thurman was just walking down straight. He wasn't boxing no more. He wasn't moving around no more. He was walking Manny Pacquiao down and landing more shots. All right. He was using his size. Spence is way better than Thurman at doing that. Thurman is better at moving, you know, and countering and using his hand speed. You know, Spence is better at walking guys down and bullying them, you know, like he did against Mikey, like he did against Kell Brook, all right, who was coming off of that loss to Triple G. Walked him down, beat him up. Kell Brook was outboxing him early, right? But then Spence was like, all right, you know what? I got to win this fight. I'm going to beat you up. He turned it into a street fight, and the momentum changed and went into his favor. So, and listen, Manny Pacquiao has already stated that he's aware of this. You know, Freddie Roach is saying that he's a little concerned about Manny Pacquiao overtraining. He might be overtraining. Like, he's already prepared now to go in the ring and fight. I mean, we still got a whole month to go. All right. Manny is probably preparing for his conditioning and endurance. He wants to fight at a high level later in the fight. If he can fight a full 12 rounds at his very best, this fight is a toss-up. In fact, there's a good chance that he might actually beat Errol if he's at his best all 12 rounds. But that's not realistic. He is 42 years old. As great of a fighter as he is 42. And Errol Spence is not Keith Thurman. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Keith Thurman, because Errol Spence, as up to this point, Errol Spence hasn't accomplished more than Keith Thurman. Errol Spence, as far as accomplishments, they're tied, because Errol basically did everything that Keith Thurman did. He unified by beating the same people that Keith Thurman already beat. The only difference is, well, we'll see after this fight. If Errol beats Manny Pacquiao, he'll have won something over Keith Thurman. But right now in their careers, Errol is just doing the same exact thing. None of them did anything. Neither one of them really did anything different from the other fighter up to this point. But stylistically, if we're talking about styles, Errol's better at the pressure. He's a pressure fighter. Keith Thurman is a boxer puncher. Errol is a pressure fighter that boxes well, you know? So I think Manny, the way I see it, for now, Manny is going to do extremely well early. You know, he's going to do things. He's going to be landing shots on Errol. All right. Errol, I know he's preparing for the speed of Manny and everything like that. But I think early on, he's still going to get caught by surprise at the speed. And I think he's going to get hit with shots and angles. He has to deal with some angles that he's not going to be used to dealing with early. So he's going to land. He's going to get hit some, but he's going to hold his own. He's very durable. Okay. He's very durable. And, like, again, he has a great jab. He's going to be constantly landing that too. Still, I think Manny, with the counters, he definitely got to counter Spence and try to take that jab away early. Because if he can do that, he'll have more of a chance of winning, especially those earlier rounds. All right. He definitely got to take away Spence's jab some way. He can't let Spence dictate the fight with his jab and let him be consistent with it. Yeah, land some here and there, but we can't let the guy keep that range, keep it a rangy fight early on. You know, that's what I'm expecting for Spence. I think that's the game plan. The game plan is to start out early, keep it outside, pump that jab, shoot the left hand, you know, and just stay out of range, you know, keep stepping back from Manny. When he jumps in, step back, boom, boom, keep that jab out there. Manny's going to get in sometimes. He's going to catch you sometime. It is what it is. He's going to catch you. He's going to land combinations. Can he hurt Spence, though? That's one of those things that's unknown. Now, hurt in Spence, I don't know if he'll hurt Spence, but I think he's capable of dropping Spence and catching him with a shot similar to the one that Keith Thurman got caught with. But hurting Spence or stopping Spence or anything like that, I'm thinking like at the very most, maybe a flash knockdown. But I see Spence as just being a more durable fighter than Keith Thurman was. All right. As far as Manny Pacquiao and his durability, we know Manny Pacquiao's been knocked out in his career. But you guys got to understand, and we should not count the Marquez knockout. This is a guy that fought him 4 times and landed one of the most. It was like a shot that it was like a video game super move or something. It wasn't like a normal shot that any guy could land. Many fighters have tried to land that same shot. It took a guy that Manny fought 4 times to be able to perfectly time him in that way. So I think Spence is a guy that knocks people out. He stopped certain fighters, but it was based on punishment, continuous punishment, body shots, up top, everything, like just consistent punishment, not one punch knockout power. And him, and you know, I keep bringing up Keith Thurman, but it's it's a lot of similarities here. Thurman was a knockout artist, a KO artist up until he stepped up in opposition. Once he started fighting the elites of the division, the KO stopped. He wasn't still knocking out fighters. Same thing as with Spence. He didn't knock out Danny. He wasn't knocking out Sean Porter. People thought he was going to knock out Sean Porter. What? He's not knocking out Sean Porter. You know, Sean Porter, he's been down, but how bad have we ever really seen him? Right? Knocked him down, but he wasn't getting Porter out of there. Couldn't even get Mikey Garcia out of here. And I'm not one of those guys that believe that, oh, he let him. No. There are a couple of rounds in that fight where Spence was trying to stop Mikey Garcia, and he just couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's levels. Guys, you fight the top tier fighters, they're a lot more durable than the lower tier fighters. It is what it is. They're not just more skilled, but they're more durable. I don't believe that there's going to be a stoppage in this fight. Whoever wins this fight, I don't believe there's going to be a stoppage in this fight. All right. I think Spence, even if Spence is winning and if he is dominant, I think he's going to be still having to deal with a guy that can still land at will. Not being able to stop Mikey or Danny, who Spence basically was pretty dominant against. Manny is going to be touching Spence a lot more than those two were. Still, at any given point in this fight, Manny will still be giving enough to keep him in a fight. I don't think Spence stops Manny. And I don't think Manny stops Spence. You know, Manny has not been a knockout artist for a long time. He hasn't. Not at the elite level, he hasn't. So I don't see a stoppage here. I see this going to decision. I see it being a great fight. It's going to be a great fight. But I don't see any stoppages from neither. Not in this fight. Both are very, very durable fighters. You know, I'm curious about the same, you know, certain things, the southpaw thing, being that they're both southpaws and don't have many southpaw fights. I'm curious to see how both take it to the body more. Manny has shown to be pretty tough at fighters that go into the body and tighten up his guard. I think he's pretty tough to the body. You know, I haven't seen Spence get attacked to the body that much. Okay. But I'm curious to see that. That's one thing. I'm curious to see how long Manny can continue fighting at a high level before he tires out. You guys gotta acknowledge that he's 42 years old. You know, you gotta acknowledge that. We can't just dismiss that. All right. Young Hollywood, thank you. Appreciate it. But it should be a good fight. It should be a good fight. I just don't see a stoppage from neither one. And that's not me capping. That's not me trying to just be political. I'm dead serious. I don't see a stoppage. Neither one of them has stopped anyone recently that made me feel that they can stop each other. I think the two of them are too high on a level to get stopped. I really don't believe it. You know, I still give Spence the edge. I still give Spence the edge. Even from the day that this was announced, I'm still thinking Spence. I think Spence wins, edges it on points. I think that. All right. If you weren't here for the Thurman fight, I predicted Pacquiao to beat Thurman. But I remember the fight being announced, and I was thinking Thurman because of the age thing. After doing film study and everything, you know, I came to the conclusion that I think Manny Pacquiao was going to win that fight. That was my prediction on points. On points. On points. I don't think these fighters at this level get stopped. I just don't think it. I don't see it. But I have Spence. I'm leaning towards Spence still. I'm still leaning towards Spence. I'm gonna read a few comments here. Jonathan Swink says 60-40 Spence edge, but man, he still has a good shot. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. 60-40 is a little too wide for me. I'm thinking like 53-47 Spence, 55-45 Spence. We're going to go by percentage. I think it's very close. All right. I think what makes it very close is the fact that at the timing, Pacquiao is 42 years old. He is 42. Now, I don't even have to bring up the 2-year layoff. I'm just saying as a 42-year-old fighter, he is slowing down some. All right. If this was Pacquiao that fought Miguel Cotto, Antonio Margarito, if this is the Pacquiao that fought those two or Margarito, where he threw like 1,000 punches, Spence wouldn't beat him. I love Bud and Spence. They wouldn't beat Manny Pacquiao at that Fort Margarito. That guy was seriously, something's seriously wrong with Manny. Not wrong, but Pacquiao was a beast. He's not that. But let's see what you guys are saying. Alex says, salute to Boxway in the chat. I agree with you on that, bro. Spence is not stopping Manny, and Manny is not stopping Spence. But prime Manny Pacquiao will stop Spence in mid-rounds. Possibly. I think a prime Manny Pacquiao would dominate Spence, but I don't know if he would stop him still. I mean, look, Pacquiao didn't stop Chris Algieri. He knocked him down like 100 times, but he didn't stop him. So you got him. He didn't stop Adrian Broner, who really didn't bring much of anything. So you gotta take all of these things into account here. Yeah, he stopped Lucas Matisse, but Matisse he was already way past his prime, So yeah, I think when these guys stepped up, that was pretty much it with the stoppage. It's hard to stop, guys. I don't know if you guys, I don't know how many of my videos you guys watch, but I'm not normally predicting stoppages these days. Sometimes we do get them late, and I'll predict a points victory. But when elite fighters fight on this level, I don't know. I'm not predicting too many stoppages. All right. So this is the way I see it, man. Scorecard. I'm thinking 7-5 for Spence. And when I say 7-5, I'm thinking like a clear, like a solid 7-5, where I'm thinking that the fight scorecards are going to be like, the three of them should be like one. I mean, we've been getting if we're getting 3 solid scorecards, right? If we're getting 3 solid scorecards, I can see. If we're not including that one judge that's in there to fix it, because we've been getting a lot of those. Like, if most people see it 7-5. And we get that one judge that's got it 118 to 110 or 117 to 111. That's the judge that the fix is in. But we get 3 solid judges. I can see it being split 7-5 win for Spence. That's what I'm predicting for now. That's what I'm looking at it. That's what I'm thinking. All right. I'll do my official breakdown because I want to study the fights. I do. From time to time, I do look at some of these fights when I'm bored, and I'm just like, I'm going to watch Pacquiao fight David Diaz or some other guys at welterweight. Or even there was a point maybe like a couple months ago, I was watching Pacquiao fight Eric Morales at the point where Eric has switched to southpaw and was fighting Manny Pacquiao. All right. And that war of a fight, those two was crazy back then. But yeah, I'm thinking like 7-5 split decision type thing. I could see a draw in there. I could see, you know, 116, 114 type of thing. You know, I think that's what we're gonna get though. All right. So I think I covered everything for now. This is like a pre-breakdown. I'm gonna give you an official breakdown soon. So be on the lookout out for that. But we'll talk more. We'll discuss this fight more. All right. Listen, I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you guys here on Saturday. I will drop more content before that though. I do want to talk about Virgil Ortiz and Kyle Velasquez being signed. And some other fights that's coming up. But I'll be here Saturday. Make sure you guys tune in Saturday. And I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Subscribe. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already. All right. Peace.